Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Fallout 76. My name's Camel. As you may know, I got to play Fallout 76 hands-on for 3 hours, which might sound like a lot, but 3 hours really is nothing. Anyway, during that time, there were a number of things I noticed within the game that I thought were kind of weird and that I think could be fixed very easily or changed to make them just better. So here's a bunch of things that I noticed in the game and thought, I could change that. And it's also good to keep in mind that just because I'm bringing these up doesn't mean they will change them, so whatever I bring up, you should keep in mind for when you play Fallout 76 if you do end up getting it, just so you're prepared for some things where you might be like, oh, I thought I was going to be able to do that, or that's weird, or whatever it is. So first up, the PipBoy Light. The PipBoy Light, it's super useful. When it's dark, you flick it on, it lights up the area, all good. Well, I actually found the PipBoy Light to be too bright. So say it's nighttime, you're in a dark area, whatever, it's hard to see, you turn on your PipBoy Light, suddenly it's hard to see, but in the opposite direction. Everything's washed out, everything's been blanketed in this blinding light. I feel like I had to put sunglasses on every time I turned the PipBoy Light on. Now, another thing about the PipBoy Light is you can't change the color of it. They had that in Fallout 4. I don't know why you can't do that in Fallout 76. Super simple, already in the system, like it takes zero effort to implement that, and it's a great feature. For example, I don't like walking around the forest with a bright, like lime green light lighting everything up. So all of my nighttime footage, it just looks green. I would much prefer to have something like a white light or a kind of warmer, yellowy light, feel more natural. Whereas at the moment, we're stuck with this ultra bright lime green color. And it's just something that they could fix so easily. It's so simple. Now, speaking of nighttime and dark places, let's bring in the other half, daytime, nighttime and daytime. I personally felt that it went from nighttime to daytime to nighttime to daytime too quickly. I played it for 3 hours or just under 3 hours, and I counted 3 nighttimes and 2 daytimes. I feel like swapping between nighttime and daytime like once per hour-ish. It's a bit too much. They could easily slow it down. I mean, it's a massive nitpick, but I definitely noticed that like every 15 minutes, the lighting would change enough where you're like, oh, the sun's going down now. Neck, I mean, oh, the sun's coming up again. Oh, the sun's going, it's nighttime, it's middle of the day. And another thing I think is that nighttime could definitely be made shorter, even if that's less realistic. I don't care. I don't like spending half of my gameplay time walking around where I can't really see what's happening. That is not enjoyable to me. So if they, again, unrealistically made nighttime shorter, I think having more or much more of your gameplay time in daylight where you can actually see would just be generally more enjoyable for everyone. I don't know if nighttime is a mechanic. For example, if there's specific creatures that only come out during the night, I don't know if that's a thing. If it is, I get it, but I would much prefer to be able to see most of the time. And again, when it does turn nighttime, you're stuck with your blinding green PipBoy Light. Now, as you may be aware, you can turn on a PvP pacifist mode. This means when you accidentally shoot someone or shoot someone at all, it won't do the initiate combat thing. So for people that really don't want to have anything to do with PvP, they can turn that on. Now, I feel like there should be the opposite end of the spectrum, where you turn PvP always on mode. And to stop absolute griefing, I think all the PvP always mode on people should all be put on the same server. Because if you want to switch that on, so you're always ready for battle with anyone, anywhere, at any time, obviously you want to engage in the player versus player aspect of Fallout 76. So those people who want to do that should all be put onto a server or servers where everyone else is in that PvP always on mode. Definitely not my cup of tea, but I know some people love that stuff, and I think that their love for PvP and the thrill of like hunting through the woods with a sniper rifle and tracking people and all that stuff, that should be met and tailored to as well. But again, stick them on their own realm so I'm not getting killed. Now, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but every woman in the game has the exact same face. Is this just me? When I watched the launch trailer, I was like, what? Is this the Gary Vault? They all have the same head. They all have the same like pointy marsupial face. Obviously, a fix for this would be add some more face options in. Now, because Fallout 76 is online and it is multiplayer, there is always going to be a sense of competitiveness. You know, ammo is going to be valuable, resources are going to be valuable, all that stuff. But along with this, they've added things in like, if you want to move your camp, that's going to cost you caps. If you want to fast travel, that's going to cost you caps. But then you can change your perk cards at any time with no cost, and you can also change your character's appearance and sex at any time at no cost. I feel like doing anything like this should all have costs, or none of them should have costs. So I find it very strange where they're like, fast travel, that's going to cost you money. Oh, but if you want to change your perks out and completely alter your character and the way your character plays, that's free. That's totally free. I find it very strange that they didn't go one way or the other and they're doing this like half-half thing. Because to me, fast travel is worth way less than being able to swap your perk cards out, but I've got to pay for fast travel? Strange. I definitely think there should be a cost for it. I think that changing perks and changing your character's appearance should still be in the game, but there definitely should be some kind of payout for it. You know, these are important things that change your character. It doesn't feel right that you can do it anywhere, anytime, at no cost. Now, as a lot of people noticed and were worried about, no human NPCs. Again, personally, in my 3 hours of playtime, I didn't notice the absence of human NPCs. I didn't really get to play it long enough to notice, and it was so chaotic, there was so much happening that it wasn't in my mind at all. But, no human NPCs. Again, I seem to recall Pete Hines in an interview said that they didn't want to put human NPCs into the game to prevent players being confused whether or not a human in the game was a real human or an NPC. I really don't see how that would affect anything. If a player starts running at you and shooting at you, you can go, oh my god, this guy's shooting at me. If a raider starts running at you and shooting at you, you're going to go, oh my god, a raider's shooting at me. It's the same situation. I don't think that the fact that it's another player or not another player will change how you react to that. Or if you want to trade some things, you know, you could just find a merchant and sell to them. Or if you ran across a real player, you could be like, hey, do you want to trade? I mean, sure, they could say no and attack you. But then again, NPCs could do that. There's lots of random encounters where people pretend to be someone that they're not. So I don't think it affected the game negatively. So far anyway. Remember, I only played it for 3 hours, but I definitely feel that they could put human NPCs in with no issue whatsoever. Now, combat was a strange one because my solution is balance, which is easy to say as someone who has no idea about how any of that works in terms of coding and actually programming it. But I found melee combat to be super superior to ranged combat. You'd be fighting something with a gun and you're shooting at it and shooting at it and you're missing and you're missing. You'd hit it, do a bit of damage, you'd miss it, you'd miss it, you miss it. The fight goes for like 30 seconds. Next time you run into the same enemy, you just pull out a machete and hit them twice in 2 seconds and the fight's done. Now the downside to melee is of course that you're really close to said enemy and they can damage you much more easily. But again, any fight where I had a machete over a pistol, the machete fight was so much faster and so much easier. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, guns in close quarters combat was almost impossible. But if you use VATS while having a gun in close quarters combat, it's pretty much 100% hit. Of course, guns do more damage than melee weapons in general. You know, if you get the machete that you get when you come out of the vault versus the pistol you get when you come out of the vault, the pistol's going to do more damage. It's just way more of a piece of garbage to use. But if you go into VATS and you're pretty much guaranteed a hit with the pistol because you're right in front of an enemy, it's pretty much guaranteed hit super damage. So outside of VATS, melee was way more powerful than guns, but then inside of VATS, guns were way more powerful than melee, especially in close quarters, when the percentage is pretty much 95% or whatever the max percentage is. Now, something you have probably noticed is that the HUD is very screen hungry. It takes up a lot of the screen, your party there, your health bar, the little mini-map thing, but especially the quests up in the right-hand corner of the screen. I mean, you can deselect them, but you do pick up a lot of quests when you walk into certain areas or events or daily challenges, whatever. That area of the screen seems to be filled up most of the time, and yeah, it's pretty busy. It's kind of intrusive. You're just like, oh, look at this beautiful forest with a bunch of text over it. I don't know. I don't think it's an ugly HUD. It's just, it's so in the way. It's kind of like wearing sunglasses where you leave the little sticker on the lens. It's just there. It's just blocking my view. Of course, with mods, there are HUD interface changes that make them smaller and more eye-friendly and whatnot, which in a standard game, which would get mods on launch day, no problem. But in this, it's like, can you make like a miniature HUD option, please? Now, if you pay close attention, you will also notice some areas had massive frame rate drops. Apparently, this was due to the build of the game we were playing. Apparently, it was optimized around Vault 76 and the surrounding area. And pretty much whenever someone explored really far away from Vault 76, they'll get massive frame rate drops because the game was not optimized. I think another part of this is that we were playing on Xbox One X's at 4K, which I definitely think had something to do with the frame rates dropping. Hopefully that won't be in the final version of the game. I'm sure someone somewhere will get frame rate drops, but from what I played, it was pretty intrusive. Again, I'm sure they're going to optimize it, but I really hope that they get it done well and 100%. And the last two things I noticed were item related. So traditionally, if you kill a raider and they're wearing a mining helmet on their head, you know that when you open their inventory, you will be able to take that mining helmet off them. But in Fallout 76, if you find a body on the ground in a red rocket jumpsuit, you aren't going to be able to take that jumpsuit off the body. What you see isn't what you get. Dead bodies and enemies you kill are just containers. So again, what you see is not what you get. And I think that's a big change that people will need to get used to from Fallout 4 and things like that, where whatever the dude you killed was wearing, you can take that off them. That is not the case here. Like I would run across a body and be like, oh sick, this is gonna, oh, it's got mentats. That's everything I can take off this person's body is mentats. I can't take those sick boots or those sick pants or that awesome jacket or that crazy helmet. I can just take the mentats out of their pocket. But the final thing was the level requirement for items, and this is kind of annoying because I totally get why they put it in there. Just as an example, if you find a minigun, cool, but the minigun will say requires level 35, which means, you guessed it, you need to be level 35 to be able to use the minigun. So the reason they've done this is of course so like, I don't know, some dude can't give his level 1 friend a Gatling laser or something like this. And it also gives you something to look forward to. So if you do run across one of these items, you can be like, oh sick, I can't wait to hit level 20 so I can use that cool weapon I got ages ago. But on the flip side, if you're a level 1 and you leg it into the opposite side of the map into a level, you know, an area where everything's level 50, and you manage to survive and you manage to get past a bunch of stuff and you manage to get to some crazy room in a dungeon and there's a minigun there, I feel like you've earned the minigun. That's what I loved doing that in, you know, Morrowind and stuff, where you'd go out of your way into some crazy places you should not be to get, say, you know, the best pair of boots in the game at level 1. And while it might sound overpowered, it wasn't easy getting there. Like during this gameplay, we went to the Greenbrier where everything was like level 40. Everything was way higher than we were. We pushed through and I found a plasma sniper rifle, which I couldn't use because I was like 30 levels too low. So again, I get why they did this. I think they should put something in like, once you hit level 30, you can get the full potential out of the item, but you can still use it beforehand. You just a low level, so you can't really handle that weapon yet. You can still use it, just not to the best of its abilities. But once you hit level 30, you'll be ready for that weapon completely. You'll get the full use and damage and whatever out of it. So I think instead of just going, nope, you cannot use that until this level, there could be a system like that where you can't maximize on the weapon until you hit a certain level. But that also means that you can use these cooler, better weapons that you find at lower levels when you do stumble upon them. A kind of middle ground between you can use anything whenever and you can't use that thing you worked so hard to get for another 40 levels. But with that pretty much sums up all of the little nitpicky things where I'm like, they could change that for the better quite easily. All of those type of things that I noticed during my 3 hours of gameplay. Remember, 3 hours is not much at all. People were complaining that I didn't, you know, talk about the quality of the main quests. I didn't do the main quests. I didn't even do a quest. There was so little time. I barely did anything. Point being, I only had 3 hours to play. I'm sure there's a lot more things like this that will come into the light as more and more people play it and we get more time and experience within the game. But if anyone at Bethesda's listening, can you like consider some of these changes? Especially some of the simpler ones like the PipBoy Light? Just make it a little less intrusive on the eyes and give us a color selection. Easy peasy. Anyway, I am keen to hear your thoughts on these and whether you think the systems that I've been talking about should have the changes I've talked about made to them. I look forward to reading your comments and I will see you all very shortly in the next video. I'll see you there soon.